Okay, I think we're live. Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Bergen, and today we're back for another trading stream, back for some charts. It's been going well. Obviously, you know, it depends on if you're a bull or a bear, if it's been going well or not. But today has been a good day. I believe it's been basically within today that we've actually been going up quite a lot, pretty much across the board. I know Mike was telling me earlier that today was the first time in either a long time or pretty much, you know, from what he can remember anyway, it was actually the only day everything's been going up. Every single coin on CoinMarketCap has been positive. Obviously, we can see some things have gone down, but again, you know, it's like, if I actually alt-tab to it quickly, it's like, you know, if we go to 24 hours, like pretty much everything, every single thing has gone up within today, apart from like maybe a few things, you know, a few things. But it's a good day. That's all I'll say. It's a good day. And in terms of so far, what we have with the charts we covered, you know, last stream, which I will go over again. Obviously, if some of you weren't here, I will talk about what I talked about in previous streams. A lot of it has been done on the weekly, so obviously we haven't reached the full capacity. But the one I did do on the 4 hour, which was syrup, we have done pretty nicely on. So obviously we'll cover that in a second. But before we get into it, I want to say welcome to everybody. Thank you for being here on the stream. Shout out to you all. Hope you have had a great day. If it's the morning, I don't know what time zone you're in. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day, all this sort of stuff. I also see a bit of banter going on with Tariq, waiting for tomorrow, Danny to take my revenge. Because obviously tomorrow is the new, I believe it is Mew quiz, which obviously we are going to be great for. I think they're harder questions. I think they're different questions and more obscure questions. Last Mew quiz I think we did was... I think it was before we have changed the rules on stuff, and in terms of changing the questions and the way it's answered and the time. I think it might have been, I don't know if it was maybe it was the first one, I can't remember. Basically, it is harder, so I'm excited for that. Whatever, that's not what we're here for today. We are here for the charts. So going back to, I'm just gonna refresh the filter. I don't know which one's best. To the main page, so we can actually see the main coins. So Bitcoin, we can see 105.5, very good. We have come to the first of two gaps. I remember talking about it on last stream. We have the main price, and then we have the main like proper price. Again, this is on the weekly. I've talked about my precautions last stream as well. I rambled on about how, oh, well, if something good happens, you know, we could break out of this, but this is what I'm seeing so far, and all this sort of stuff. And I did mention the first gap we have on the lower time frames, which obviously we have come to fill, which is quite nice. I believe KB, you mentioned that gap as well in Telegram. In terms of pretty much filled the entire thing, like quite closely, and obviously we then came up and we're up for now. We haven't quite printed above the high yet. We haven't, you know, fully done that. Obviously, I'm gonna be talking about that today, but we're doing, you know, in terms of what we have so far, we're doing really well. And obviously, like I mentioned, the only coin I believe I covered on the 4 hour in terms of, you know, the movement down was syrup, and we have come to the buy area, and we have moved on quite up from there. So, you know, done pretty well. Ethereum as well, 24.35. I don't know. I think I was talking about 1900. I actually don't know where we came to exactly. I don't know if we came down to 1900. I'm not. I'll have to check about that. I think we might have. If I'm trying to think about my ticker, I think we might have. I'll check. And obviously Solana, I do believe we did come down to the 125-ish area, or close nearby to it. I believe we've come to most of our areas. Bitcoin obviously was very, even though I think I did cover Ethereum and Solana on the weekly, they weren't, you know, they weren't extremely low. Like obviously with Bitcoin, talking about 92, 8, 93k, you know, these are some quite low areas in comparison to like 106k. So these are some areas which were a bit more achievable to reach. Obviously, talking about Ethereum having like 1300, those were the comparable prices to Bitcoin. But in terms of obviously percentages, obviously I still haven't said percentages yet. 2.2 24 hour. Again, today, apart from maybe like 3 tokens, one of them being a gold representative token, everything's been going up. You know, obviously 1 hour, 1%. I mean, 1 hour percentage obviously down, whatever. No, it's literally been 5 minutes. Who cares? But in terms of the 24 hour, we have been going up. And also you can see on the 7 day, we have actually started to recover some of the 7 day movement downs. Obviously, the conflict hasn't happened within the last week. We have had the movement down from, you know, the pinnacle point we had. But again, it's nothing, you know, crazy from where we have had quite a nice recovery. Obviously not all the way though. So 2.2 on Bitcoin, 5.9% on Ethereum, 2,400. Quite a nice move. We've had a really big spike. Oh no, that's I'm looking at the wrong thing. Just a general move. I looked at the Tether spike. I thought, what happened to Ethereum? I thought I thought something crazy happened. But no, it's still a great recovery for Ethereum, you know, regardless. So, and for Solana, 3.6. So again, a good recovery. I think I'm quite confident we did come down to the 120 summer area for Solana. I think I remember seeing 1900 for Ethereum. I might be wrong. I don't, keep a fully eye on the charts. I do remember think I seeing it though. And obviously Bitcoin, we haven't come down to the main area I talked about. In terms of winners and losers, I mean, this doesn't really matter. Like, I don't really look at many of these coins anyway. I do want to look at Syrup. I want to see actually what the Syrup thing is. I can't look at Com. I should. I think they had a massive pump for Com actually. I might try and go on to Com in a bit, like near the end of the stream, just to see it. But yeah, we had a bit of a. We had the move down and the move up. This is the daily, so this is where we're in today. So I want to see a bit smoother. Which I can't really, because whatever, it doesn't matter. That's the coin market. Let's go on to actual charts. So this is what I had on the weekly. Let me check the chat quickly though. Let me alt tab to it. The timer, of course, the timer. Completely forgot. All right, let's offset it like 7. Let's do like 53. So it's relative, okay. I apologize. Okay, let me scroll up. Even KB, UKB, hello Tariq. I've always said you guys, and Danny has said you guys. Shout out to you all for being here. Appreciate you all. Semi answer, yeah, of course. Yeah. You know what? I think I might have a horse in the race. I might have a horse in the race tomorrow. I'm trying to think. I might try and get a side in the quiz tomorrow, because you know what? I haven't had one yet, but I'll be less obvious. Anyway, the charts. So, Bitcoin. When I looked at that, obviously this is the weekly, so it was like I didn't do Saturday, so it would have been Thursday, I believe. So it would have been last week candle, so it would have been this candle. Obviously it is Tuesday, so we are on to the current candle, which is this nice candle here, which has had a really nice recovery back up to this area. Again, a lot of lines. It's quite messy actually with all these wicks, but whatever. So we had this main one, which I did talk about, which I think is a bit big on the lower time frames, and then we had this one. This is obviously the main one in terms of this whole thing going on. Obviously, the main thing I kind of compared it to was this area down here, which we had for the previous move. Which obviously brought us up higher into this kind of lower area for the the move. Obviously for this move, I've already drawn it, so I'm not gonna draw it again. It was between here and here, trailing the high until we see it actually stop. Obviously taking out this area here and then bringing us down. The main kind of concept for this move is just a retracement to recover. Not to recover per se, but as in just to have. I don't want to continuously go up, because the higher we go, the faster we fall, or the harder we fall. I want to have a normal move. I want to have nice highs, nice high lows, and again, it's not crazy to say that we have an uptrend and we just continue highs and lows. So that's kind of the main. It's not some crazy like cup and handle Judas, this, that, the other. Wacky pattern I'm seeing. It's a lot like I'm just seeing the future, like some like Nikola Tesla, like electricity current thing. I'm not seeing some random ass pattern. It's literally just high highs, high lows. So it's not crazy to say, okay, we need to see a low. Whether it be this low, I'm not convinced. Obviously, it depends on what we do. This, that, the other. In terms of the actual high for coming into it, again, we're not in a downtrend per se. I think for the weekly, again. The weekly downtrend would be, you have to zoom out like this. You can't really look at a downtrend in this little move we've had over the last 4 weeks, because you have to go on lower time frames for that. But for a downtrend, you'd have to print past the low. So I'm not looking to print past 74.5. I'm not looking to have a downtrend on the weekly. I'm looking to continue the trend we are currently been doing. All the way since this whole thing has been an uptrend. I'm just looking to continue this move. So. It would be more so looking on the 4 hour and going, okay, downtrend, hitting the area, going up, that sort of stuff. So it's not like I'm looking to print past stuff. So to then obviously take that into consideration, going on to the 4 hour, going, okay, cool. So when on the weekly, we know, I don't want to look for a downtrend. I'm just looking to print a higher low in the current trend we're having right now. Brilliant. So that would take us to the 4 hour to look for the downtrend, which then takes us to reversal, which then gives us the price of this previous high, about 106.5 K for the last high. Obviously, we have this obvious high, and then this low. Obviously, we're printing below these lows. We have this massive dip here, which had a nice recovery into this candle, kind of having a bit of hoverage here. Looking like we haven't had an immediate response from the area. So it's kind of a thing of where, okay, if we print below past this high, this would clearly be, in terms of the relative time frame of the 4 hour, be us printing a higher high. If we start to print higher lows, obviously then us in a uptrend. Obviously, following the move down, we've had, that's not right at all. We've had, normal moves. Again, obviously following this, for these lows, we've had this candle, which was sitting within the premium, obviously having a really nice wick into it, and then massive move down. So again, normal movement. So again, I've drawn another one on the 4 hour here. We can see we don't really have much. Again, you could argue, okay, we technically have a tiny gap here, which produced a bit of an order block. But again, the main kind of area to focus in this whole area was definitely this candle. So obviously we've come to this area. We haven't had like an immediate 4 hour candle boom. We haven't come right into it and then right back down. But we've obviously come into this area. We're obviously doing these really awful candles right now on these 4 hours, especially these candles. Obviously had a high move here, but relatively not moving as fast as we were moving. We've kind of had a massive, really big candles. Obviously, we have had a big wicks, but majoritively massive bodies, and then just no wicks at all until we've hit this area, and now we've hit this area, and we've just kind of stopped with the massive candles. We've had tiny little body prints. We haven't really done massive movements, so you've definitely hit a bit of a roadblock. Whether this be the reversal point, obviously I can go on some lower time frames, see what we're doing on some lower time frames. But as I see it right now, it's like we've definitely hit a bit of a hurdle here with this, how we're printing right now in this area. And so far, again, we are very close to this high. So that just to point that out and just take that in the open. But as we have it, with this move, we haven't, done a full, thingy-majiggy. We haven't done, okay, we haven't printed past this. We are still in this kind of phase of potentially coming into the premium, finding this sell area, and then coming down a bit more. Very positive politically, I believe, right now. I saw mention, you know what? That is not what I wanted to spell. That is not what I wanted to go to the news. I believe I didn't actually read it. Okay. Yeah, so I believe they were trying to obviously ceasefire. I don't know. I don't think there's an outcome of this. Again, this is very obviously recent updates. So again, this is still happening. So again, if there's, and this isn't the confirmation of ceasefire. So again, I think when that occurs, if that occurs, I don't actually know the full outcome of. I'm gonna read it a tiny bit because I actually haven't. I saw some updates on like Twitter, but I didn't actually read them. I should have, because I knew I was streaming today. But I want to see if this has actually come to a conclusion. Achieved a historic victory. So I think it sounds like we're near the end of things. Obviously, in terms of what's been attacked on the Iran side of things, I believe the goals of the other side have been reached majoritively in terms of what they wanted to get out of this conflict. Obviously, not posing sides or anything, but I do believe, they have done quite a bit of damage. Quite a bit of damage. I think they've hit what they want. I believe there were aims for nuclear. I mean, they've been saying for like years that they had nuclear weapons. They never did, but they believe they have hit some nuclear parts. Obviously, there was funding from Iran, which I think has been, in terms of the people who are doing that, have been targeted. I don't know the outcomes. Again, I don't know. Obviously, to hear him say achieved a historic victory kind of sounds like it's near the end. If this is official, obviously, again, massive for the market. It's kind of really ceasefire appears to hold. Yeah, again, so it doesn't really sound like it's really confirmed, but it has been talked about and has been happened. So they both said that they won't break the ceasefire unless the other does so first. Right, so it sounds like, okay, if he doesn't hurt me, I won't hurt him, type of thing going on. So as of right now, so far, it sounds like there is a ceasefire and it has been put off. which is good. Obviously, the likely chance of something happening again, I won't put it past it. I won't put it past them to do something and break the ceasefire. I really wouldn't, and that would definitely not be very good for the market. But it seems like there's a ceasefire, which is great for the market. I don't know how long ago that was. That was probably within the hour or whatever. We're doing pretty well in that regards. So again, very really positive for the market. That only happened not too long ago, so I'm not really seeing so much revelation in the market. I suppose maybe on the 1 hour you can kind of see a bit of stuff going on, but in terms of it happening within the last, how I didn't actually read the time. I think it was like 10 minutes ago, whatever it was. Hold on, let me go back to this article. Hold on, just give me a second. Yeah, so this... Oh, can this... Stupid... There we go. So when was this? Less than 1 minute ago. Yeah, so this is like now, basically. Oh, did not just rain a nuclear science. Oh, okay. Yeah, so this is 36 minutes ago. So this is... I think this is happening within today, basically. Okay, cool. Yeah, so it was within, the last hour. It was within today. They were talking about... Rate of results... Okay. Okay, yeah, cool. So within the last hour or two, it has been resolved, in theory. So that would have represented on, here. Obviously, I think there must have been talks of it, and then obviously it happened over these candles, and obviously we've actually printed a new candle now. So it looks like we had a move. We didn't really have much of a move with this. Obviously, we've been sitting in this area the entire time. Let me alt tab. I just alt tab by accident. So that is good. But it also means that there won't be much more good to come out of this situation. Not saying, obviously, this is good, that it's ceasing, but in terms of how it affects the market, if it's been finalized, there's not really much they can add to the situation to make the market pump per se. So necessarily so I'm just looking at this area. So not necessarily like, oh yeah, someone could do this and then obviously the market's super happy, it's all ended, boom, now we pump. But it's ended nonetheless, so that is good. No more, in theory, significant thing has happened in the conflict, and the market dumps. So, in that terms of that negativity, is a good thing. Obviously, if we look at the 1 hour, as I'm speaking, looking at what we have on here, we definitely have prints past these areas. And if I was to draw, we have this move, we have this into the, so you can see into this candle, we have this area, we filled this, and we continue on. So again, you can't just premium discount, trail up to the high, and then look what we've got. We've definitely got one down here with this candle. So again, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, from what it looks like on the 1 hour, okay, we've definitely printed past some of these. If you kind of attribute this to the high, obviously this is a very extreme high here, especially on the 4 hour. But in terms of this kind of move down, we've definitely got some of these highs technically, which obviously we've definitely printed past and come above. In terms of trailing this move, we've definitely had this move up. We have something below us for sure. In terms of on this, if probably go up to the 4 hour, we could probably see a bit better with this candle printing past some of these highs. Definitely we have something below equilibrium, which is the main thing I'm trying to get at. We have definitely something below equilibrium, which is about 102k. So in terms of obviously the move up, having that area there for that low to continue to go back upwards. Obviously, as we've already seen this with this area, with this move up, which we then had this retracement into this candle with this wick here, and then continued onwards. So again, nothing out of the usual on the 1 hour, especially having that kind of current uptrend, if you will. In terms of the wider range, obviously in terms of this low, maybe this low here, this low, this whole move we've had going on, we haven't printed past this high here. But again, we are still in the process of doing that, especially coming past this area with this whole move. So again, still very good. A lot of positivity right now on the 1 hour and 4 hour. Obviously, in terms of the 4 hour, these aren't really significant highs, and that's why I was kind of on the 1 hour. We're a lot more positive. In terms of the 4 hour, it definitely is. You can definitely see the exaggeration of these highs, especially with this high here, this high, this low. These lows, which obviously we have printed past this one here. So in terms of this kind of move we've had, printing past this low, kind of coming up, we haven't printed past this high yet at all. So we aren't technically in that position, very close to it, but we aren't in that position to be above this high where I'm like, okay, cool, boom, yeah, we're going to retrace into this discount, have a massive pump back upwards, continue to come past these highs, and aim towards 110k or aim towards 108k in this very obvious kind of significant high point here with these highs. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna look at the chat quickly because I haven't looked at it in a while. I think we take out that internal range high before potential. Is that the lower? Is that this kind of aiming for this area here? I would assume so, because again, like I was just saying, on the 4 hour, it depends, because obviously if it's a wick, clear as day, it's not going to be. If it's a wick, obviously we haven't printed above it. We're not going to do another high. I am expecting this whole thing to happen again. We've had this kind of move down. We've had a retracement back into premium, and we've definitely come to this massive candle. Clearly hasn't had that massive effect we've had. Again, the next point there would be obviously, like, you know, I definitely agree with taking this high, especially coming from this candle back here, coming from filling, you know, we've had this massive kind of area here, all these highs, which we've obviously taken with this. Let me draw this properly. Candle here, highs taken with this. Massive move down. So yeah, this is definitely gonna be a very important area, I think. In terms of looking back, obviously we have all these. We have this candle which has this print. We do have an order block here. We also have a propulsion block. So what we have here is a significant area, massive retracement, came back into it, and then engulf this candle. So this candle is also going to be something interesting for me as well, which also resides slightly a bit above, which also could be the area we hit off in terms of if we were to wick. And again, I think we are very close to the point of potential reversal. And again, it's kind of an area of, okay, cool, we are very close to printing above this high, but we haven't done that yet. So again, I'm not, you know, on the hopes of, okay, cool, we're definitely in an uptrend. But, you know, especially with this whole thing going on here, I definitely think this is going to be resistance if we especially hit off the 106.8 area. I could definitely very well see, you know, next candle coming up into it a bit, having a wick, and then obviously down we come. So, but regardless, we have, I mean, I'm sure I've seen candles before which have come into gaps like this, which haven't immediately had a massive retracement from them, but have had retracements from these candles. So I suppose it is still just waiting on this to have a retracement back towards lows again. Obviously, you know, applying obviously what we've talked about back into the weekly again. I still, you know, I don't think this is too crazy to say, regardless of what, you know, is going on, you know, in the market. Again, if something really positive happens and breaks us out of these areas, I more than happily agree with that. But again, you know, in terms of just what I have on the chart, I still think this is a valid move, regardless of if it's been thought as a really extreme, oh yeah, 93k is really low. I still think this is a valid move, you know, in terms of, you know, just the idea of coming down into a significant area of buy below the equilibrium would be this massive candle, you know, looking at this massive candle. And again, obviously it does come all the way down to even towards 86k. I know Mike was talking about, was it 88k, I believe it was, which obviously on the smaller range, if I go back to the 4 hour and look at some of these areas, or it might have been in daily actually, I was looking at it. Yeah, here we go. So we have obviously these inner candles which kind of make up the weekly, but you know, just to really focus on the weekly, I do agree obviously 88k is definitely an area. If we have the extremity of filling the entire candle, I could definitely see that. I don't know if I'd fully aim at just 93k and a tiny touch, because again, you know, really looking at it, you know, we have this candle, you know, printing past this high. This is definitely going to be a significant candle in my opinion, and it is also below these 0.5 area. Definitely, you know, and again, I've just to kind of back up the idea of how this works. It's like this has happened before with this whole move. This isn't something rare to say. And again, I'm not saying we haven't had negativity during this move, which you know, made it easier for us to come down to this 76k area, but it's very laid out, you know. And again, I'm not saying premium discount is the be all end all of market movements, but it's just how, you know, markets, it's just how the higher lows, higher highs works. You know, you have to have a retracement, so it's trying to find that potential area, and you know, it's very common to see it come below that 0.5 area to find that low. So again, I don't think this is crazy to say in terms of talking about 93k. Again, you know, in my opinion. Let me have a little scroll of the chat. Cinnamon trousers. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I agree with that area. I don't think the Bulls left yet. I mean, that's the thing, because that's why I'm looking at going. There is, you know, chance, because again, we normally, okay. Same with this area, for example. Like the relative time frame is, you know, it is the weekly technically, but it's you don't really spend that much time inside the area and not have a response. You know, for example, with this tiny gap here, we came in and came out. This one came in and obviously we went out. But this one, we've come into it, we haven't actually come out of it properly. So again, this kind of, you know, looking into it, okay, cool, well, now we need to look at it on this range. It's like, okay, well, on the 1 hour, we have this gap. Obviously, it hasn't really technically filled it. Obviously, looked at the 1 hour, already looking at this candle. So in terms of the relative area, in terms of it being a potential uptrend on the 1 hour, obviously, considering some of these highs, I would still expect a retracement at some point. Again, depending if this is the high or not, obviously is where it kind of comes into. Clearly, this hasn't had the effect of having a retracement, so that would then lie onto this this area, especially with this being this kind of coming above these highs, printing above, and then coming down again. This is definitely going to be an important area. So if this hasn't had the effect, then the next point would be coming past this high and then coming down again. So and that's obviously, do we print above the high? Do we have a wick above the high? And then retrace, you know, quite dramatically. So that's kind of where it's at right now for me. But again, that's on a bit of a lower time frame. But not saying that can't be on the 4, because again, this is it's definitely taking its time to do. And again, I don't necessarily think, because a lot of the time it's not just a thing which, oh yeah, you sitting here for 24 hours in this area. You know, it's normal, like, okay, cool, you've come into it, you know, technically 8 hours, whatever, boom, with this candle especially, and then come up. But even with this candle, it's like a tiny body, massive wick. Clearly, you know, massive move, tiny, boom, like move up. And that's why I'm kind of looking at it on here, especially with this candle. It's like we've come up into this area and then immediately had just complete difficulty. So I definitely think we're near the area of, okay, cool, like this is the area to look at for potential reversal. Have we had that yet? I don't fully think so. Especially you know, looking past this high and then coming up and then coming down again. So I think it's definitely taking its time. I definitely could see a bit more of a move upwards, and it still wouldn't be a bad thing for us to move up. But you know, kind of just looking at, you know, just this whole area in general, to really just look at this potential move up and move down again. So I suppose obviously time will tell. But even in this move up, I still think there could be moved back down to about 102k, whatever it may be, down here. So yeah, I mean, great for Bitcoin. I would expect a bit more of a retracement soon, anyway. But I will move on to some other ones. I will actually jump to SIRP quickly, because again, it'll be a quick chart to look at, and it's, you know, just want to look at what I talked about. What the hell? I believe it was this. There we go. So yeah, this is kind of what I drew. And again, this is on the, I mean, actually, it wasn't the daily though, so it's not that low of a time frame. But the reason I didn't look on the weekly, because, yeah, it's like, what do I really do? It's like, okay, cool, this is the low to the high. Oh, we have this candle down here, 22 cents, here we come. You know, it's like, whatever. I'll just rather look at it daily. And this is what I looked at. It was Thursday. I think it must have been this candle. Was looking to come into this area again, which we did pretty well with. You know, we did come down to this area, and then we've had a nice move back out. So just to give an update on the SIRP chart, which we did cover. I believe it was Thursday. I believe my Thursday was, or my stream was Thursday. But in terms of so far, again, a really nice move. Again, it literally had one candle into it, and then obviously we moved off. So a good low area here, higher than this area as well. Let's look at the 1 hour quickly just to see if there's anything interesting. I mean, technically a little gap here, but again, nothing. You know, for me, the main kind of focus was the gap of this area, with us coming into this kind of whole candle, having this recovery, coming back into it, and then having that pump up from it, clear as day. You know, not clear as day, but you know, clearly a good support area to focus on. Within this kind of, you know, there wasn't really much to look at. We've already used this area, come down to this area, and obviously we're moving up, and we've moved past this high. So clearly, the next point of this is to start shimmying this back upwards, and the next print, you know, in this process of moving back upwards, we have printed this candle, which is still in the discount area. So even if we move down for SIRP, I still think we have this buy area, you know. So again, I still think SIRP's going up, you know. I've already, you know, on the 4 hour was a bit, it must have been on the daily. I just did like a tiny bit of TA. It must have been a lower time frame actually. Why is that? What the hell? Why is this so low? It must have been this. Yeah, I think I was just looking at this area as the support and resistance. And then coming into the... it must have been the gap on the 4 hour or something like that. Daily, maybe. Why have I drawn this for? I don't think it's on the weekly, no. Try to find what I drew here. Clearly, it's within the 2 ranges. I want to try and find out why I drew this. I must have drew it for some reason. Well, we came to the midpoint anyway. I actually... Why have I drawn this? Hold on, let me... I'm confused. Maybe it's the weekly. Maybe it was like an order block on the weekly. Yeah, I mean, I drew it for good reason. I'm sure it was a valiant reason why I drew it. But do you know what? I can't find why I drew this. It must have been this. Whatever. Well, I don't want to look at this TA. It doesn't matter. What matters is this. I kind of want to delete all this because I really don't want to look at it anymore because it's kind of in the way. And then I can redraw on this. So again, the main aspect is definitely going to be this. You know, following this move is definitely going to be looking at this candle for the area on the lower end. Obviously, again, that depends if we print it clearly, but you know, definitely a really great area. So I think Syrup's, again, really positive. Again, this is the daily, so it's still a relatively high time frame. Although we have come past some of these equal lows, or equal highs, sorry, with this. Obviously, last time we did this, obviously had this move and then move down. We've had this move up. I wouldn't be surprised if we had a bit more of a move down from doing, you know, this high. Especially, you can see, you know, we've had this move above it, and then just, you know, already had a bit of a low candle down. So I still definitely think we, you know, could have a bit of more of a retracement. But I definitely think it would be, you know, this, like, whoops, let's say it's to there, definitely into this candle. Let's say it's like about here, and then obviously coming on. I definitely think we continue onwards. You know, this is, I just think that's just the move for Syrup. So again, still positive for Syrup. You know, I don't think it's taken out anything in terms of like high time frame stuff. You know, it would be sitting within the area of looking at, if we had a massive dump, would be basically just, you know, looking at this area for about 23 cent-ish. I mean, I suppose you could probably focus on looking at a bit of a breaker block, potentially with this covering. You can see we kind of came to this midpoint. We formed it, came up, midpoint came up again. So maybe this could definitely be support. But again, you know, if it depends on what period it falls from. And again, that is still within the area of no use. It definitely, the next point down would definitely be this one for me. So unless we start to hit, you know, close towards 80 cent for Syrup, again, if we start to hit towards the dollar, absolutely think we could see support there. And by the time we hit this area, we probably could see some support within where we're doing it right now on the weekly anyway. So again, I'm not concerned for Syrup, even in the higher time frame. So I think Syrup should be positive nonetheless. So now I can jump back to the actual main coins, which is going to be Ethereum. Let's see what... Yeah, we actually touched it quite nicely. I believe this must have been on the daily or something. Yeah, it was on the daily. So I think I was talking about 1900, obviously. So I think what I was talking about, what happened last stream was talking about 2000... It was 2187, I think, was the line. I think it was 2187. I said, yeah, definitely, you know, it could come as low as 900. But again, you know, just really focusing on this area here with this candle. And again, if we went to some lower time frames, we could probably see some gaps here. You know, the first gap within this low area, and then obviously the print on that. It's one actually, see a bit lower. But when we start to get towards low 1 hour, it starts to get too small. So I just stick to the daily, which has the gap anyway. So it's like as soon as we start to come into this area, it's focusing on, okay, you know, it can happen from the top point, the midpoint, and the low point. It's like it's really just looking at it on the lower time frame. It's really just looking at, okay, cool, what are we doing basically? Like what's going on some it probably goes to 15 minute actually prove it, but it's like, okay, what are we looking at like we're doing? It's like, okay, cool, well, we've you know, come past this low, we've done all, you know, these highs, we're kind of just like sitting in this area. We've come past it, and now we've you know, come past this area, we've come past, and now we're coming up, and we've just touched into this discount area. So it's like, okay, cool, we've done this, we've come back into the discount area, and now we've come up, and now we're and again, this isn't, we shouldn't really focus on this, because again, we've only just moved. Like if I was to look at this, obviously during the 15-minute time frame, it's like, okay, cool, it's like during this whole move, I wouldn't be doing a premium discount on the 15 minutes unless I was trading like the 1 minute. It's like I wouldn't be doing this. But so to, you know, pay attention to that, it's like, okay, if we go to the 1 hour, the 4 hour, it's like, okay, well, the whole move is then looking like it's this whole move. So it's like I'm looking to come back into this area. I'm not looking to We've got a 15-minute now. It's like I'm not looking to short from this gap in this move, because this isn't even anywhere near the high points. I'm looking at, you know, this candle, you know, these important areas, which obviously we have started to come into, especially this one. We've already started to come into here. So it's like, you know, this is clear as day, the point of the movement, especially coming from, I can't go on the 15-minute, but the gap behind us on the daily. So again, really good there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete it now because I can't bother to look at it, because if I move, I've already looked at it now. I think I've got some on the weekly. Yeah, so this is like, okay, cool, we've had the move down. So I remember talking about this on Thursday. This is like, okay, cool, well, we should be coming back upwards. And I think for me it was this move with this candle and then move back downwards. We didn't really have much here unless we focused on this candle and then this move again, like in this area. The only one for me was definitely this gap here. And I think on the lower time frame, on it must have been like the daily or the 4 hour. I think there was something of interest. It mustn't have been. It must have been the weekly. I think it was just this candle which we recovered and then came down from. So I think it was mainly just this area to focus on. Which obviously we came to this high. I already talked about this on Thursday, because I remember the kind of main point for me was looking at all these candles and looking at all these wicks. It's like, okay, cool, this is clearly, we've come to an area. This is very similar to what's happening on Bitcoin on the 4 hour. It's like, this is quite similar. We've come to the area where it's expected to see movement downwards, especially, you know, in this whole move. We've had this area, you know, above this, you know, premium area, which you can see with this wick. It's like, okay, we are now aiming at this area for sell, because clear as day we've had this massive move, and then as soon as we've touched this area, we've just had these wicks, and the market's just not moving. You can clearly see with all these like bodies, just tiny. So you know, for me, I was very interested in that move down for sure, because you know, it was just, and you know, I suppose if you looked at it on the weekly, it's like, okay, we did also have this candle which we came to the midpoint of as well, about this 2,187 area. So that's kind of my main reasoning for what I talked about on Thursday. So now passing that on to you know, now basically where we're gonna go next. Well, we've already kind of come into this candle. You know, not saying we could continue to come down, not saying that, but just looking on the weekly, it's like, okay, we've used this area, so it's like, okay, well, this is the main move, and yes, we have used this. So it's like, okay, the next thing I would do would be to draw this and look at what to come into, which we've already used, and that's the thing I've already done, which I don't know why I've redrew that. I've already done this, which was this candle there. So for me, it's like, okay, let me go back into the daily. Here we go. So for me, it would be looking into the move from the high to the low, and then moving back up into it. For me anyway. So it's either looking at the previous highs at 3,000. Again, that's quite high, considering obviously I'm pretty negative. And then it's either looking at the daily and looking at this move for a bit more of a lower time frame, you know, thing going on, which would be, we already looked at the 4 hour, but to look at it on the daily anyway, it is quite similar to this high move, looking at coming above kind of some of these highs here, especially with this massive wick here, which is definitely going to be a rejection block, which we've already kind of come to the midpoint here. You can see there. So definitely some resistance in that area. Coming back to the 4 hour, we've already had that high. But again, even just looking on the daily, it's like it's ignoring the fact that we've already had this move on the 4 hour, on the lower time frame, with this whole move, and we've already started to come to this area. Obviously, we've already technically come into this. I would be looking at this, to be fair, because we've already kind of formed this and used it, formed this order block and come down. So it's like, if we were to draw a, I don't know if I just drew a pen then. So if we to look at this, it's like, okay, you know, we have had a bit of resistance from here. We've already kind of used it as resistance, but we already had usage here with this move. So it's like, we've kind of already used this, so we're starting to come past it now. I don't reckon this holds as resistance, as massive resistance. So then it's like, if we've already kind of used this, we've already had this wick. Is this point, in terms of filling the rest of this, is this the point, or is it going to be looking at to come to the high point of this area, where it's like, okay, it's like looking at the lower time frame, it's looking at, you know, what we have on some of these highs. Let me actually go past this. There we go. So you can kind of see really kind of nice equal highs here, especially if we now zoom down the 1 hour and see we've pretty much filled the entire thing, had this print, and then start to retrace. Similar to what's happened on Bitcoin with, oh, I think it was Bitcoin. It was from going from the 1 hour to like the lower time frames. We kind of had we had the highs like around here, which we kind of did this with. So similar with Bitcoin's case, I do think we could have that move down from that position. In terms of what it had for Bitcoin, obviously we have a bit of these areas down here to look at with some of 2,300. But again, I think it's starting to get pedantic, going closer and closer. It's on the 1 hour as well, so I think it's starting to get a bit low. So I'm not actually going to draw that because I don't like that. Even though I do think we have had this move up, I do think we could have retracements down to some of these areas. But for me, it's like, okay, we've had this. Let me shimmy that back a bit. Oh, actually, hold on. There we go. There we go. There we go, that's where the gap is. So you can see we pretty much nicely come straight to it there. We do have this, if I was to shimmy it down the 1 hour, it's very close in my opinion though. And we've already filled this. We've already touched it and came down really rapidly. We've already came up above this, already had these highs to kind of focus on, had this print above them, and also started to retrace. But I think with this, it's like, okay, we're on the 1 hour now. So this whole thing with this highs is definitely, if you can see this kind of downtrend, it's like, okay, this high, this low, coming down really close, and we've had this print now with this area. So I'm not saying we've printed past this and now we're going to come all the way down, because again, this is the 1 hour. It depends on what's going on the weekly, and obviously on the weekly it's a bit more negative than this, but it makes sense. It's like, okay, 30 minutes, that has more chance to start to become positive in terms of what highs we have than the 1 hour and the 4 hour and the daily. So it's like, I'm not surprised the 1 hour is starting to become more positive than the higher time frames. So if we are starting to become more positive, especially if we have this main high, no big, obviously, but then it's this one clearly. This is like this high and this high. To be fair, we probably have highs here, which we have had this print pass, which probably is the main area of focus for this kind of now uptrend. But regardless, either if that's the case or not, if you're late to look at it, this technically still is a high we've printed past. So it's technically still the same thing. It's just confirming we are starting to print past some of these highs. So it's, external range looking for internal. So regardless of if you're looking at just premium discount, we're just looking for internal as well. So from there, it's like, okay, we have this remainder, but we also have this mini kind of gap here as well, which is more than valid, I think, as well. We have a very extreme low which came past these, which had this move up, which also has this kind of mini area we've used in this candle. So in that area I could definitely see it. If we were to look quickly though at this premium and whatnot, we could also, it's actually kind of hard to see, but directly below this discount is this gap. So again, coming down towards the 2,350 areas, I definitely think could be a low. If we did have this print above these areas here, and obviously came up above the rest of this, and then continue to come back downwards again, we have this low, the remainder of this gap. But I think for a not major low per se, but for actual main low, I definitely could see 2,340-ish, whatever this is exactly, maybe 2,335. So again, I think for Bitcoin and Ethereum, we're very close to these positions of starting to come down. I think obviously in Bitcoin's case, we could potentially see that high. In Ethereum's case, we've already started to see these highs. We've already came to this. The next point up for me is definitely going to be 2,500. So if we edge about, up towards that, I don't know. I think we need a bit more of a retracement, considering what we've done with these highs and this area about 2,450-ish or 460. So again, I do think we have a relatively close low, but I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I don't think it's too bad of a down move. And I still think in this, it's like, yes, we have had this move, but I would like to see a bit more of a, if we've in this move we've filled this gap. And now we should continue to go upwards. I think I would want to aim for 2,900. But again, that could be quite high. Again, this is starting to get towards. This is on the weekly again, so this is some higher time frames. And what I've already said with Bitcoin, I'm going to say for Ethereum again. It's like if things start to become really positive or really negative, it will definitely have some sort of effect on the market. But just based on the charts, it's like I've already talked about this on the daily. Like I said, I've already talked about this whole thing coming into this candle on the discount. And then, okay, cool. Well, if we've done that, we've had this move. It's like, okay, we could see move upwards. So it's like we've had this main move we could have a mini move, like it's like, okay, cool, oh, we're in an uptrend, and then come to our significant area in the premium and then continue back downwards towards the lows. But again, it gets to a point where it's like, are we realistically going to see 1400? It's like, are we realistically going to see these? Obviously in the bull trend there are major points of lows, there's major of major corrections. In terms of it could be relatively soon. Again, I think there are a lot of people talking about 88k, and obviously I've already looked at that on the daily with the kind of gap on the lower time frame. You've already seen my weekly. I think it's like 86 to 93. You know, again, massive range nonetheless, but you know, aiming for min points, it's kind of something it's like, okay, there's not, in these candles, like, there's not one set price. You know, you have to watch it. You have to watch on the lower time frames to see if there's a reversal. You have to watch the lower time frames to see what goes on, to see if you're going to start to move back upwards. So it's like, I can't just say, oh, it's definitely 93k. We're going to pump from that. We're going to hit that target. We're definitely going to move up. So it's one of those things you have to watch. But at the same time, it's like, it's a significant area to focus on if you're looking to, okay, if we're coming down, what target should we aim for? And are we going to reverse from any of these positions? It would be around 93k. So if we are looking to, at some point soon, have one of those periods in the market where everything retraces at a certain percentage and then moves back upwards, these could be some of the price targets. But again, it's like, this is the weekly. It's like, we are technically in downtrend until we see highs. In Ethereum's case, you know, this is a really nice move down. So technically, we've printed past all these major lows. We're past this low, but this is the main low. We've printed past it. So until we technically see, and again, this is kind of like old man stuff. It's like, oh, well, technically, if we don't print past 4,100, we aren't going to do more highs. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. But realistically, the weekly, the daily is also relative, and it's like, okay, well, in this case, it's like, where are the main highs? Well, it's like this high, this high, this high, this high, and then some of these are highs as well. So it's like on the daily, it's like technically we've printed past some of these highs now. We should start to aim towards doing higher highs, higher lows. Again, higher highs. This should be our higher low, which we talked about on Thursday. So to aim back towards some of these highs, I don't think it's crazy to say, but really focusing on the weekly thing we've got going on, 3,070 should be this area of you know, really. We're in premium at this rate. This is our premium. This is the area we should be focusing on to potentially look at and then come down again. So, you know, it's one of those things for Ethereum. Similar with Bitcoin as well. I think on the lower time frame, especially like 4 hour and stuff, it's like we are printing past some of these highs on the 1 hour. Or no, maybe the 1 hour more so. We are printing past some of these highs. We are starting to do high highs, high lows. So it's like relative to our time frame now, I'm not like, you know, oh, we're definitely coming to 88k tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going 93k. But, you know, I think I'm focusing on the weekly and stuff and just the general move on the higher time frame, but on the lower time frames we are in a uptrend, so I don't want to trade against that relative to now. I'm just kind of doing a more of a wider range, you know, look at, you know, Ethereum and stuff. But again, like I said, 4 hour daily, we've printed past these highs, we're coming up, we've just on a massive low now, we should be coming up. And again, there's been positivity, there's been obviously the ceasefire, so there shouldn't realistically be any more major negativity. But I mean, I've said this on some other streams, it's like, I think this has happened before with conflicts, it's like the start of it is definitely the biggest, you know, move or the catalyst to move the market, you know, down for sure. There are periods in the market where we can go down, resulting from news which is, you know, came out from these conflicts and you know, things have happened. But realistically, and I've been watching it on, obviously it wasn't the meme coins, but now is on, you know, the main charts. There has been negativity throughout the conflict, but it hasn't really had a major effect on the market. Not more so as the start of it. And the end of it, obviously, is going to have positivity, but obviously, clearly, not as much, if this is the true of the end, not as much as the start of it. So now that we're out of the waters with that, in theory, obviously, you know, if these guys actually stick to their word and whatnot, 3 new updates, though. Okay, all right, so it's not actually happened. So they haven't had an official meeting. They've just talked about... They've just talked about it, basically. But they haven't actually talked about it officially. So it's still yet to happen. So that could result in a massive positivity for the market if they have this talk. This is like a proper official talk with them to get it sorted. So again, once this happens, it's like, okay, this... And that's probably why we haven't had that much of a... Because again, when I was reading, I was like, okay, they've said ceasefire, but have they really like done it? Which they haven't. Clearly with this less than 1 minute ago... they're going to actually talk together to happen, or to make a actual true ceasefire happen. So clear as day, it's like, okay, the true positivity hasn't happened in the market. So it's like, this can definitely have an effect on the market, probably positive. So that's yet to happen. So we probably should take that into account when we obviously look at the chart. And again, like I said, on the lower time frames, on the 4 hour, we are positive. It's kind of just only really looking at the weekly, and then the daily, it's like, okay, well, this is a massive downtrend. You know, until we see past 4,100, we're still technically in a downtrend. I would be aiming for 3,000 as a high point, start to come down a bit more. It's just, you know, that sort of stuff. But even then, it's like we do have this rest of the gap at 2,000. As we print up towards 3,000, we could start to print, you know, we could print gap, we could print significant areas. And, you know, on the weekly, if we print past this candle, coming into this gap, this is going to be a support area. So we still, you know, we still could print higher price support points, you know, right now. You know, we haven't printed yet. We still could do that. So I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I just wanted to really look at it, you know, last stream as well, and really focus on it. So going on to Solana now, and I will look at the chat now. I don't know what chart I used. There we go. Oh, I don't think it came to it. Let's see. Oh, it didn't. It was 126. There's 124.5. That is unfortunate. So we didn't come to that price target exactly. It would have been beautiful if we did. But again, this is a weekly thing. Again, this is a weekly, because so with Syrup, and that's why I looked at it earlier, because it was on the 4 hour. A lot of these things were on the higher time frames, especially with Bitcoin. The Ethereum one was on the daily. Obviously, we looked at it on the daily with the massive gap on the weekly. In terms of the move up we had, and the retrace it back to it. But in terms of Solana's case, we are looking on the weekly here. So on the daily, it's kind of different. It's like, again, it's very different to look at it. It's like a lot of these moves have these, okay, well, you know, this is the move up. And it's like, okay, this is the major candle. We came into it, and obviously we continued upwards, moved past these equal highs. That's kind of a, you know, this is quite a concerning move, to be fair, you know, with these equal highs, massive wick. Very concerning. Obviously move down, and then you can attribute this to obviously a move down. You can see candle here, wick into it. So again, you know, on the daily, if we was looking on Ethereum, it's like, you know, or as we did with Ethereum on the daily, we can see, okay, you know, gap here, wick into it, move down into premium. So it's like, if we now apply this to where we're looking now, technically that's the move. So we want to really look at this move here. And we can kind of see we're already into this premium area. We've kind of already started to come into this candle. But realistically, I'm not looking at there's not really much here to look at in terms of, let me go to there we go. There's not really much here in these candles. I'm not really looking at too much. I mean, I suppose there's these, if we go to some lower time frames, 4 hour actually, we could potentially have a look at some of these highs. Well, to be fair, we do have this massive candle on the 4 hour, to be fair. Now I'm looking at it. In this move, if we look on this move, but on the 4 hour, we can see, you know, nice move down, massive candle in this discount, and then we're doing this. You know, we're starting to build up quite a few of these, you know, cascading highs. So I definitely could see a bit of a push up to that, especially with if we focused this on a mini move, especially within the candle, and we went to some lower time frames, we could definitely see back into this candle or some of these candles. It would be interesting to see if we could come back up towards these highs and have a wick and then start to move down. But I'm going to look at the 4 hour here. If this would be, you know, a move up, you know, we could definitely see some move here. We don't really have a lot, actually. Now I'm looking at it, I suppose we have the low we could focus on. If we go to the 1 hour there, we could maybe potentially see something. We've already used this gap with this low. We actually have a gap here on the 1 hour, so, you know, looking at that point there. So again, this is it could show turning tides, because a lot of these moves, it's like, okay, in terms of these uptrends, it's like we have these massive moves and then we're printing past these lows, which doesn't help. So technically still printing past these lows. We haven't printed past this high on the 4 hour, so we're not in an uptrend for Solana. So again, I would be expecting on the wider kind of scope of things to continue to move down for Solana. So again, we haven't hit this area yet, and it's not like we have done anything significant to suggest that we are going to get out of this. We've printed past all these lows with this massive print. On the 4 hour, we haven't printed past this high, we haven't printed past that high, and we've printed past all these lows. We're still not doing anything. It's very similar to Bitcoin in terms of the case of a very similar high with this and printing past this, forming this shift with this gap, having a nice support there, and then kind of hovering. It's very similar with Bitcoin. So in terms of the idea that, okay, are we going to be in an uptrend? obviously on the 1 hour, if we find this support and then print past the highs, definitely. But if we're going to wick past these and then have a massive move down, are we realistically going to start to see that? Or if we go out to the 4 hour, it's like, okay, are we going to see this? It's like, yeah, on the 1 hour, cool. But on the 4 hour, in terms of this whole move, there's not a lot of support apart from seeing a low. And once we see that low, it's like, okay, if we see, a retracement in this move, let's say it comes from here to here, if we start to form gaps relative to this area, or we form a gap, actually no, we would have filled that, to be fair, but if we start to form gaps on the way down, it's like, okay, this is going to start to be resistance, and we'll continue down in this move. So for me, this is, I don't know if I delete the right thing there. Yeah, okay. So it's like, okay, for me, it's looking at external to internal. So this is definitely internal. So it's like the next thing to aim for would definitely be the next low until we start to see prints above the highs. So if we saw a massive move up and a print above these highs, that's when it would start to change for me. But until then, I could definitely see a wick up to, even if it comes towards this high, similar with Bitcoin, like we've already talked about, a wick up to some of these areas and a continue downwards. The next aim would be the significant lows to continue the downtrend, which would definitely be 126, coming then into the main area I had on the weekly, which is this main support area. And again, once we come to that support area, it could then suggest an aim towards highs. But again, it does depend. Realistically, it does depend. And, to be fair, if we're in a downtrend and we don't print above these highs, but again, it gets to the point where it's like, we can't continue to... You can't not have a chance of us being in a downtrend, but also breaking above the highs. So it's like, realistically, it's like this could be major support. We could miss this low and then continue on upwards, not do a lower low, and then start to come towards these highs. And again, consider what time of the year, and consider the market, the current market situation. It's like we should be, continuing on upwards during this, the rest of these months and whatnot, to start to see some major highs. So in terms of when we should start to see that, are we realistically going to start to see lows below this, or have we come below this low, had a nice, move below it, and now we're going to start to come in an uptrend to start aiming for the highs? That's what I'm kind of thinking about right now for Solana and pretty much everything else. So I definitely think we could start to see some lows. But again, it's like, okay, we're very close to this point on the weekly. If Bitcoin was to see some of these lows, which everyone thinks we could see, or not everyone, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but a lot of people think we're going to see towards 90, or my case, 93k. A lot of people are saying 88k. I know Mike was saying 88k as well. If we're going to see that for Solana, is this 125, whatever exact area is going to be, is this going to be the low relative to Bitcoin? I don't think so. So then it obviously begs the question, okay, where could we see lower then? Obviously, that would be a question for, kind of this whole uptrend, I suppose. This whole move up, technically, then. It's like, okay, what point is... this is from here, for example. What point is... I just, puffed my mic then. What point is discount? Well, obviously, these areas. So it's like, okay, it's still the same thing for me. I still hold the same point of, okay, this is discount. What's the main area? It's this low. Not really anything else. Maybe some gaps down here, but not really. We've already used this one here. It's this low. In terms of this whole move, it's this low for me. And we've come past it. So it's like, I don't have... In terms of the major move of this, there's not much more of areas to look to aim for internal areas. Like, obviously technically we have printed below it. That's the concerning part. We haven't had a wick below it, we've printed below it. So if we can't start to see some of these highs, it's like, okay, if we start to see some lows again, that's not a good sign at all. It's like, okay, boom, obviously this is a high. Just press the wrong thing. Whoops. This is a high. We've printed past this. It's like, okay, let's really obfuscate that there. I'm not saying that's the high per se, but if we see lows past this, that's not good. That is just not good. So again, it wouldn't be a surprise to see even lower. But again, it's like, okay, what are the next areas? I don't want to say $50 Solana. I'm not saying that. For me, it would just really be aiming for the next low, because it's like, if we are in this, high, low, printing past this low, lower high, well, it's like, okay, this is internal then, which we've already came to with this. So then it should be external, which should be the low. So it should be aiming towards 95 cents. So in terms of Bitcoin being in an uptrend, Solana on the weekly anyway, you can see this is very different. In terms of Bitcoin, it's more like this, where it's like we've had the high. Like if I go to it, like in Bitcoin's case, you can see this is clear as day uptrend. So it's like it's very different from Solana, where we are at external, we're aiming for internal. So it's not crazy to say we can come to 88k and then see highs. But again, in Solana's case, it's different, where it's like, okay, this, we've had the highs, we've printed past this low technically, and now we could potentially be doing a lower high. This is external now, so it's not, we don't technically have to aim for a gap or an order block or rejection block or all these sorts of things. It's just aiming for the next low, which is $95. So that's a bit more concerning for me for Solana's case. But what I will do is 10 o'clock. I'm going to look at the chat because I haven't done that in a while. So let's see. Reversing for tomorrow. The Hinder, it's like this, it's like this bounty hunter. He comes on, plays the game, gets in the top 3 and just leaves. Obviously, I think there was I think he sent a wallet last quit, so maybe obviously that's changed, but it's like this hidden bounty hunter, just plays the game, doesn't want the reward, just plays the game, leaves. But anyway, 2 to 3 weeks I think we have left for a Mew all-time high, but I was 2 weeks out in May. Evening, okay. It front ran my level 2. I was expecting 1 to 2. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, this is the main for me. Again, it's a big area, but something with syrup. But it's like, if I go to some lower time frames, I'm sure there's something within this previous area to focus on, to really look at. It's like, okay, there's potential little areas here. At 122 again, obviously, like you said. So it's like there's little areas, but the main area for me is this weekly area. It's like, okay, this is just an area to focus on for a buy. But again, I've already talked about my concerns for the wider time frame of Solana, and again, it's very different. I don't know about Ethereum actually. I think Ethereum is very similar. Yeah, Ethereum's similar. It's like, in Ethereum's case, it's not Bitcoin. We've printed past the low, similar to Solana. Obviously, we've wicked past this low though, but it still doesn't excuse the fact we've printed past this low. We've done this high. This is a massive candle. I wouldn't expect a bit more of a push upwards towards 3,000. But again, it's like, this is technically downtrend territory. So this is the territory of focusing on looking at the next low, which is 1,400, which I don't want to look at. But it's like, okay, this is at the same time, this is weekly. The chance of it getting out of this trend is quite high. But it's like, okay, to exclude this, it would have to be a week or two of massive movement upwards to get us back to these highs, to then start to see uptrend again. So it's like, it's not good. It's definitely not good, because it's like, this is the move. Oh, it's pretty trash. This is the move. It's like, okay, cool. This is like this rainbow we've had. It's like, oh, it's not a flag, it's a rainbow. And then it's like, okay, well, this isn't good. We've started to print down, but we've had the high. But now we've, okay, actually, I should probably draw this, to be fair. It's like, oh, but then we just hit this wall, and it's like, okay, but now we've printed below this low. We've printed below this low now. We've done this low. We've swept below past this. It's like, okay, well now we're coming up, but we've seen a massive high now, and we're starting to come down. It's like, oh, okay. So on the weekly, what are we aiming for? What are we aiming for? So again, on the 4, I've already talked about this. Again, I'm going over my timer now. I'm going to end it, very soon now. You know what? I think I've stuck to my timer quite well. Finishing Solana around 10 o'clock. But again, my main takeaway is, okay, on the lower time frames, yes, I'm definitely seeing positivity again on the 4 hour, Ethereum, Solana, whatnot, and Bitcoin. We have definitely seen this. Bitcoin's case though, it's like, yeah, we are in a period where I could definitely see a move downwards. But I think on the long time frame, like weekly time frame, Bitcoin and Ethereum, Solana, or Bitcoin and then Ethereum, Solana over here, they're very different scenarios. So I'm very interested to see what happens over the longer time span. But it just takes one thing to really bring us up out of these depths for these obviously Ethereum and Solana to get out of this scenario towards 4,100. I think once everything starts pumping, I definitely think we can get out of this. It's like, okay, if we do this low and then see a high, it's like, well, we don't have to aim for 4,000 anymore. We have to aim for 2,800. So it's like, if we see a high or low in this area and then start to print above this high, it's like, okay, it's upwards then. So it's like, it's not doom and gloom. I don't think we have to get past 4,100. It's just where we are right now. If we don't do a clear low, which obviously we have started to do it, definitely with this low, if we don't start to see this move upwards and getting back above some of these highs, or this high we've done in now, then it's starting to get concerning. But if we print at 3,000 for this gap, move down a bit, and then come down towards 2,300, 2,400, 2,500, whatever it's going to be, then it's like, okay, well, we just go up again. So it's not doom and gloom. It's just what we have right now. It's like, okay, if we don't hold a low where we are and we start to come down even lower, you know, there's not really much below us until 1400. But whatever, that's doom and gloom. Okay, let's just move on. Okay, happy days. Let's just pretend everything's all doolally and happy. Okay, we all live in a perfect universe. Everything's gonna pump. You're all gonna be really, really rich. We're all gonna be really, really rich. Let's go. And that's about it. That's all I have for the stream. Thank you, each and every one of you, for being here. Appreciate you all for joining the stream and being part of it. Tomorrow is the quiz, the Mew quiz. We have 30 questions. I think we do again, something along those lines. I think there are some obscure ones today, as I've been told by Mike. I don't think every single question isn't one, because I was losing my mind last quiz. I don't think KB was here. I think you were here. I think you were on the stream but weren't playing. Something like that. I can't remember exactly. Every question, the answer was like one, apart from like 2 questions, and I was starting to lose my mind a tiny bit. But I don't think that's the same now. We've checked it. It's not the same. So you won't get, you know, it won't just be some easy, you know, la-di-da quiz, okay? Oh, I'll just put one every answer. We were making jokes that Mary was, you know, riding her car, taking over Finland, I think it was, with a little goat, and playing the game, because it was that easy. So it won't be like that tomorrow, okay? So for you guys who got it, who are coasting along last quiz, it won't be the same. So do prepare your game hats, your boots, bring your boots, I don't know, whatever phrase you have in your local dialect, and it's going to be fun, as it always is. So appreciate you all for being here. Thank you so much. Hopefully make it to tomorrow's quiz. I hope you do too, KB. Great to have you there. I do want one night where we have like 50 people. I just want to see what happens to the quiz, because we haven't had that many people. And yesterday, again, ridiculous bug. If you put, and it won't happen anymore now because I fixed it. If you put a message which is just only emojis, it breaks the whole quiz. But we fixed that now, so that won't happen again. So for you who are there, I have fixed that. So we won't have any more silly bugs like that. Hopefully, again, it's just one of those things, you know. It's one of those things you got to test live. But regardless, other than that, I'm ending it here. I've kept you guys for an hour and 10 minutes. Okay, or an hour and 7 minutes of your precious time. So thank you guys. Appreciate you all. I'll be back Wednesday, and I'll be back Thursday for the stream. I'll be back Saturday to look at this. But obviously by, probably maybe even tomorrow, by Thursday, we should hopefully see an official announcement. Because again, obviously I've already talked about with the meetings. What? Yeah. Oh, right, okay. What about this? But they're going to talk, with this one. I was just trying to find this one. They're going to talk officially, and it's an official announcement might happen. That will definitely pump the market probably at least a tiny bit. So that will have some sort of results. So it depends on what situation we are in by the time this happens. But looking at what we have right now locally, we are very close to a situation where we could have big retracements. Or not big retracements, but decent retracements for Bitcoin and Solana and whatnot. So depends what happens. Let's see. Yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Appreciate you all. Thank you, guys, each and every one of you. And goodbye. Thank you. Let me alt tab. I'm not alt tab right now. Yeah, goodbye. See you guys Wednesday. Comes to the quiz. It's going to be fun. Goodbye.